Hi, everybody. This is Claire Weber, founder of HerDad, and I am here today with one of my favorite dads who's going to tell you about an incredible dad move. So, at HerDad, we talk about dad moves as something that is extremely effective and creative way to connect with your daughter that leaves a lasting impression. So, I want to introduce you to Carlos joining us today from Mexico. And Carlos is going to tell you a little bit about a way that he found to creatively connect with his two young daughters. So, Carlos, thank you so much for joining me today.
How are you, Claire? Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm really glad you agreed to tell this story. There are so many dads out there that have young daughters and that are looking for ways to connect with them. And really, because for most men it's not intuitive as to how to connect with their daughters as it might be with their sons, I find that dads are always asking me, what could I possibly do that speaks sort of in her language to help her know how important she is to me. So I'll turn it over to you. You know what I'm talking about, so you want to tell me a little bit about the story?
Yeah, sure. When my girls were 6 and 7, their mom and I were getting a divorce, and I wanted to find a way for me to get through to them. During the divorce, they were getting so much interference as their mother was continuously bad-mouthing me that I needed to find a channel to connect. Both of my girls were fans of anything to do with fairies, especially Tinkerbell. So I suggested to the girls one night the idea of writing the fairies a letter. I told them, who knows, maybe they will write back. And so they did. They went to sleep, but before they wrote letters to the fairy. And that night, when they were asleep, I picked the letters and the girls had written, and with a special paper that I had bought at Office Max, and with a tiny font and a different font in order for them not to recognize my handwriting, I wrote them back. Needless to say, they were ecstatic the next morning, and so it began the friendship between my girls and the fairies. During this communication, I got to learn a lot about them, about what they were feeling, about what they needed, and about the things that kept them up at night. I paid particularly attention in not making the mistake of trying to convince them of something or to involuntarily manipulate them. I made an effort for the fairies to always talk good about their mother as well as their father. And I was also aware during this process that it was a privilege for me to be part of this communication, as it was as pure as it could be. And during this time, I was able to give my girls some comfort, some hope in the future. And so if there are dads out there trying to communicate with their young daughters during especially stressful time, I would encourage them to try a version of this strategy that, at least in my case, had a very satisfactory outcome.
Oh, it's just fantastic. I can't stop smiling thinking of you coming up with this idea and writing in this tiny font. It's just so incredible. What a creative way to be able to communicate with your daughters, and also, like you said, to hear what's on their minds. So
Yes.
can you tell me a little bit about what you did? You've mentioned to me before that you would find like tiny items and leave for them in addition to the notes. What else did you do?
Yes, as these communications were daily, um, we ran out of uh, topics soon. So then we started to have, I would give them missions to do, to go and play with dogs at the dog pound, or to help, we live here at the beach, so to help the turtles go to the sea, or to water a specific set of plants that needed water, and they would feel this camaraderie between the fairies and them. And in every letter, there was something that would leave them with more peace and with more hope, as the stress of the divorce was also obviously getting to them. And I always wanted to give them, to leave them with something. And eventually, The communication lasted for probably a couple of years, and the letters were not daily, but whenever there was something they were stressed, they would leave letters to the fairy, and then he would give me the signal for me to go and intervene and to try to find a way to help them. So for me, in my case, it was very helpful. It was tiring also because obviously after the whole day with the girls and everything, I would have to, maybe they would go to sleep late on a weekend and I would have to wait until they fall asleep and then write. And sometimes I would spend 1 hour trying to figure out what to write, the right thing to do, because it had to be very specific, what I wanted to give to the girls, So, but it was always worth it.
That's such incredible dedication. It's just remarkable to me. And so the girls are teenagers now.
Yes, yeah.
And the divorce is behind you. What do you think in looking back? Oh, first of all, how old were they when they and how did they figure out that you were the fairy?
They stopped writing to the fairies, and they didn't question it until maybe when they're 11 or 12 years old. They started to figure that I was the one doing it, but it was not like all of a sudden. It was very very smooth, and eventually one of the girls asked me when she was about 13, "Hey, you were the one writing this?" And yes, when I told them yes, I actually hesitated a lot because I didn't know if it was time. Of course, it was time. She was 13, but and they were very touched when they found out. There was especially one, which is the one that continued with the communication the longest. She was very touched about. So then you wrote this, and then because it was I have in that shoebox maybe 400 letters of them to the fairies and the fairies to them. Eventually, I will make a book with all I will put in the book all the letters and I will give it to them. But they were very touched. As I always made an effort to be an impartial observer, which I was not, but I tried to do it the best I could. And they appreciated when they were older that I didn't try to manipulate them in any way.
Absolutely. That's so important. It's so important. And so now that they're teenagers, how old are they both now?
They are 14 and 16.
So do you think that taking that approach when they were younger, do you think that has helped contribute to the foundation that you have with them and moving through their teenage years with some grace?
Yes, I believe so. Yes, we still have a very good communication. I mean, teenage years are tough, no matter what kind of communication you have. But yes, I believe it helps us not to lose touch in the beginning. So then that set a tone that we continue to have. I believe as long as they know that you are there, as long as they know that they are not alone and that you are there for them, that's all that they really need. The communication doesn't have to be sophisticated. It doesn't have to be intellectual. No, it's just as long as they feel you are there for them. Sometimes dads try to rationale too much the relationship, and what they just want is to feel it. They don't need to understand it. They just need to feel it.
Absolutely. You're so right about that. I talk to women all the time, and I just had a Facebook post with tons of women responding to the question, daughters, what is one thing you wish your dad knew when you were growing up? And that's the number one thing that people are saying. I wish that he just knew that, like, I just needed to feel his presence. you know, either to spend quality time with him or to just feel that he was just there for me. That's so important that little girls need from their dad. It doesn't have to be a certain way. It doesn't have to be rational, like you said. And little girls just need to feel the presence of their father and to know that he's there. And I just think that, you know, it's just, again, a remarkable way that you found through this fairy life with them, even at the time that they didn't consciously know that it was you doing it. Surely they felt a very strong presence of a very loving force, and you were able to influence, you know, and comfort them. I'm just so impressed with it. And I just want all men out there that are going through divorce or otherwise, you know, any dad that's looking for ways to connect, especially with their young daughter, to hear about this really powerful and simple thing that you did. So my hat's off to you. You and I connected over this fairy thing. I'm a foster parent and an aunt, and I have used this consistently when I foster children and with my nieces as a very simple way of bringing them comfort and magic and joy. And I just think that, you know, it does take efforts. There's definitely early mornings where you're sneaking around and things like that. All parents know about that kind of thing with the holidays and such, but just great to hear from you how it's really paid off. So thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me. Congratulate you on your project. HerDad is an incredible tool, and I hope a lot of dads get to use it.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Thanks for being here. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.